Hi everyone, this is Dayu from EcommOps. Does this sound like you? You're a dropshipper, you have a new product to test, an agent's not going to work with you because you don't have enough orders, and you're just really stressed out about using Aliexpress because you think it sucks. And most likely you heard a lot of horror stories from others, how they got scammed, how they can't communicate, and how it's going to kill your business. Well, I'm going to be honest with you here today. Today I'm going to talk about Aliexpress, and I'm going to tell you that it's fine to use, especially during certain stages of your business, if you use it the right way. Now, mind you, we are a private fulfillment agent, so technically Aliexpress is actually our competitors, and I'm supposed to tell you Aliexpress sucks, it's slow, blah, 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 but honestly, it's not that bad, and it should fit into your dropshipping business, and I just want to give you honest advice on it. Today, I want to talk about why you should consider Aliexpress no matter what your experience level is or what stage of the business you're actually at, risks that you should be aware of when you're actually using Aliexpress, and talking about how to actually use it effectively. First, you have to prepare ahead. You got to research and plan ahead before making a sale. We'll talk about that. And then finally, we're going to talk about how do you use Aliexpress smoothly with the lowest risk possible. All right, so why should you consider using Aliexpress? And I say this even if you have an agent. We actually have clients who actually still use Aliexpress to test. So if you're new or experienced, this is something you should still consider. Now remember, the product testing process is like a funnel. Honestly, for every 10 products that you test, maybe a handful are going to be profitable and only one is going to be worth scaling. So in the beginning stages, when you're testing and you want to test a lot of new products, flexibility is so important. The ability to test a new product and be able to just kill it right away without negotiating prices, without holding inventory, that's incredibly important for the first stages of your business or a new product. And then once you actually get through the first couple of steps, after you test it and validate it, then obviously once you have enough orders, then any agent will be very happy to work with you to actually scale that product to the moon. But at the start, you really want more options and the flexibility that Aliexpress offers. One really important thing that you really have to remember is that Aliexpress is just a platform. There are sellers on Aliexpress that are wildly different. Some are going to be terrible, some are going to be really, really good. So if you actually find the great Aliexpress sellers, you are actually going to have a pretty good experience. Honestly, your first orders, especially on a new store, they don't matter too much. Obviously, you want to get to a good customer experience as much as possible, but honestly, your next thousands or 10,000s or 100,000 orders, they matter so much more. And at the start, when you're testing new products, you really just want to be able to test as quickly and as flexibly as possible so that you can actually get that home run product and then scale with an agent. And then afterwards, 99+% of your orders are actually going to have a much better customer experience. Now, obviously, Aliexpress is not perfect, and there are going to be some risks and watch outs when you're working with Aliexpress. So this slide again, Aliexpress, again, remember, it's just a platform. There's some good sellers, but honestly, there's some terrible sellers as well. So just be aware that there's going to be a huge variance in the sellers that you might work with. I would love to actually hear about some of the experiences that you guys might have had working with Aliexpress sellers. Have you had really good sellers? Have you had really bad sellers? Put it in the comments so others can see as well, because I love to kind of see what others' direct experiences might have been, especially if you actually have a very positive experience with an Aliexpress seller, because it's relatively rare, but it happens. But love to learn more about it. Put it in the comments below. Now, the thing is, many sellers can be dishonest. But that being said, honestly, many dropshipping platforms like CJ, for example, or private agents even, they can be dishonest as well. But this is something definitely to watch out for. They claim certain things. They have fast shipping. They have US warehouses, best quality. But, so you get excited. It's like, oh, this sounds great. But it ends up not actually happening. So, by the way, we actually do have another video that's really just talking about the top supplier tricks. So I'll link it below. Watch that as well if you want to learn about some of the things that suppliers, Aliexpress sellers tend to do, and so you can understand more how to react against these things. Having the seller promise you something and you set that expectation with your customers and you don't meet it, then the customer is going to be unhappy with you. So this is something obviously that's very, very important. Generally speaking, on AliExpress, shipping options are usually slower. They're usually more limited, and they're usually less reliable. So the most common shipping lines you're going to see are going to be ePacket, which it normally is good, but especially during busy periods or COVID, for example, it's very unreliable. AliExpress standard is a little bit better, but still it's relatively slow. But still, I think that is an option that works pretty decently right now. And then usually they have a couple of premium options like DHL or FedEx, which work, but obviously they're really too expensive for drop shipping. Now the issue with a lot of AliExpress sellers is that they don't have the same kind of relationships with special line couriers like Unexpress, UBI, for example, so they can't offer these really great value but pretty fast shipping method. But it's one of those things where as long as you know the expected speeds, as long as you communicate it with your customers and manage it effectively, as long as you actually move on to something better and faster as you start scaling, I think this is still not a big problem when you're actually using it to test a new product. So actually, I think that one of the most important ways to make sure you have a smooth experience with a seller is actually do the work before you actually start making a sale. So once you find a product that you really want to sell, what you want to do is try to find multiple sellers for the same product. Now, if you think that dropshippers, they like to follow trends, AliExpress sellers, they do it even faster. If they see a product is selling really well, you're going to have 10, 20, 50 sellers in the next week or two all selling that same product. So before you even start, you want to find multiple sellers for the same product, at least 5, ideally 10 or more. And you want to filter them. You want to shortlist maybe the top 3 or 2 to 4 sellers, and you want to filter them for the length that they've been in business. You want to see them open for at least a couple years so they have that experience. You want to see a very high feedback rating as well. To be honest, there are ways to kind of fake this rating, but if they've been in business for a while and their rating is 97% or higher, then you're in probably pretty good shape, because it's very difficult to hide that length of business and also that high of a rating. But you really want to look for something that's pretty high, actually. Something like 80%, definitely no. 90%, probably not. You want to look at least 95 to 97% or higher. And don't worry as much about the number of product reviews for the product that you're trying to sell. So first of all, I assume that the product you're trying to sell is really good quality. So other people are selling it, and most likely they're all sourcing it from similar factories anyways. The reason why you shouldn't worry about the product reviews quite as much is that AliExpress sellers, they flock to new products. So many times you have really great sellers, they see a new hot trending product and they start selling that product. So obviously they're not going to have that many product reviews, but as long as you think the product is good, the price is right, you should consider working with that seller, because the seller and their supply chain, how they do things, is so much more important than the fact that their new product listing doesn't have any reviews yet because they started selling it. And then after you have your short list, you want to test all of the target sellers with a list of questions. Now, here are just some sample questions. How long does your shipping take to whatever country it is? But customize this list to what really matters for you. Do you want CSV processing? Do you want some simple branding? Whatever it might be, customize the list. Maybe ask something like between 5 to 10 questions or so. And their exact answers are honestly somewhat less important than the actual communication style and the responsiveness and just how you feel about the responses. Honestly, they might kind of have certain lies as well. They tend to lie about stock, for example, where their warehouse is. The point of this process is that because communications is so important with a seller and the process is so important, you want to just get a feel for which seller do you like the best, just given their communications and that kind of process going back and forth and answering your questions and how responsive they are. Now, once you actually pick a favorite seller, make sure that you have at least 1 or 2 backups for the same product just in case, and that you still maintain some relationship with them as well. Stuff happens. An AliExpress seller, they could go out of business, they could stop selling the product, all of a sudden that product gets more expensive for whatever reason. You don't want to disrupt your business simply because the one seller that you chose is not offering whatever services anymore. So definitely have at least 1 or 2 backups just in case, so you can flip to them as soon as possible if an issue does arrive. Okay, so now you did all your work. researching ahead and picking a couple of sellers. How do you actually work with AliExpress and that seller as smoothly as possible? Now, this is more of a general thing, and honestly, if you're working with a private fulfillment agent like us, this is going to be a lot more true. However, remember, AliExpress sellers, they're human, they're businesses as well, and if you take the effort to try to build a strong relationship with them, communicate with them, collaborate with them, and actually work together on growth because you both make money, not everyone is going to be able to do this as well as a private agent is going to do. Still, this does happen. You are able to actually develop a relationship with your AliExpress seller and actually collaborate together and actually be mutually beneficial. So this is definitely something that you should be trying to aim for. Communicate with them and also listen to their advice. Ask for their advice because honestly, they know a lot of things that could actually help out your entire operation. So ask them what type of shipping option is best for your product, for your country, depending on the situation, depending on where they're located. Don't just think, oh, I just want to use AliExpress Standard, I just want to use Yanwen, but your seller might actually be able to use ePacket very well for a specific country for whatever reason. Ask your seller what they recommend. And then talk to them about the best packing options for shipping, whether it is, do you want to add extra packaging, maybe extra cost to protect a fragile item, or do you want to talk about, okay, not including invoice or maybe adding something simple like a branded thank you card or something like that. Ask those things because some sellers might be able to do that for you. And then finally, product recommendations. So this is something that we private agents never do because we can't give away other clients' products. However, AliExpress sellers, they're selling so many products and it's all public on their store anyways. You can ask them for product recommendations, whether it's you want more cross-sells or upsells in your niche, or honestly, maybe you have a good relationship with your AliExpress seller and you just want to know what other hot products that you can actually test. And obviously that's more business for them. So usually they're going to be very happy to actually provide you more recommendations from their own store or just products that they know about and they might plan to sell. And you want to keep your seller in the loop with your plans as well. Tell them about your scaling plans, tell them about your inventory needs or your predicted orders per day, and talk to them about, what kind of branding options that you might actually want. Now, not all AliExpress sellers can use this information in an effective way. However, you would be really surprised at what they can do. Inventory, for example, a lot of Ali sellers, they don't really hold much inventory. And if you're just kind of putting in orders every single day, they're going to just be like, they won't be prepared at all. If you have a good relationship with your AliExpress seller, many sellers are able to say, okay, look, they're not going to be like a private agent and hold a ton of inventory for you. But if you tell them, hey, I'm going to actually start scaling up a bit more, I'm going to maybe get like 10, 20 orders tomorrow, at the very least they know about it so that they have a plan for it, as opposed to they see your orders come in, they have to scramble because they didn't know that it was coming in. Honestly, just communicate as much as possible is so important, and the right seller is going to surprise you in what they can actually do for you. One very important thing about communications is this is just a reality. Most sellers are going to be using some kind of translation software. So use simple language in your chats. Avoid slang, avoid abbreviations, avoid misspellings. This sentence right here, like, yo, dude, what's your typical policy for getting the shipment out of door after ordering? Just simplify and just be like, hi, how long does it take you to send an order? Very simple, very direct. And one little fun little trick exercise that you should try is that use Google Translate, put a sentence like this into translation and translate it into Chinese, and then copy that and translate it back into English again and actually see what you come out with. We actually did this exact same thing, and that exact sentence turned out to be, guys, what's your typical return policy after ordering a meal? It's kind of sensible, but it obviously doesn't make sense. So, look, they're not native English speakers. They probably barely speak English, and translation tools actually work quite well, but you have to understand that they are using something like that. So you can't, just have long-winded sentences and having slang and assume that they understand you. Honestly, if you're doing that, then that's kind of your fault as well. So understand that they use these tools and make sure that you speak and chat simply and directly and get to the point. And I guarantee you your communications are going to be a lot better. And kind of related to communications, by the way, I mean, just treat your seller well, and good ones are going to treat you well as well. Issues do happen, but if you start screaming at your seller, if you start cussing your seller out, no one's going to react to that. I mean, especially Chinese sellers. What happens is that if you just tend to chew them out every single time there's an issue, what's going to happen is that they're going to be afraid to give you the honest truth. They're going to be afraid to have real discussions to fix issues for you. So that is not what you want. You want them to be able to have open conversations with you to resolve any issues. They're all human, right? If you praise them on something they do well, they are going to do more. They are going to prioritize your orders. And look, just generally treat your seller with respect. It really does go both ways. Now, if you do all of this and you're very respectful and your seller is still terrible, then really sorry to hear. Then you probably want to go to your backup or your second backup, as we discussed before. I will tell you that there are a lot of great sellers out there. I would even say that great sellers are probably better than bad private agents. So if you respect great sellers, they are going to pay you back with more respect and just, better treatment of your account. And a couple of things that you definitely should be using to make your AliExpress ordering experience much quicker. So use one of de-essers or overload. These are essentially overlays on top of AliExpress that make bulk ordering, importing pages much easier. Out of these, I definitely recommend de-essers though. Overload is kind of invasive on Shopify, but both are fine. And then also, once you actually have a great relationship with a seller that you trust, you can actually ask them for a VIP link. Now, the VIP link is that they're going to create a product page or AliExpress product page just for you. They're not going to show what the product is. And the benefit of that is that they can dedicate their efforts on that page to your order, so it's kind of clean on their end, and no one else is going to see that product as well, so that, if you have a product that you don't want other people to see, then that's a good way to do it. And just generally speaking, once you use a VIP link, it just makes the process a lot smoother, and it also makes the seller feel that, okay, you might have some kind of a longer term relationship with them as opposed to just disappearing tomorrow. Now, in terms of your overall strategy, now this is something that we actually see a lot of our clients do successfully, is that they actually have a separate store or maybe a couple of separate stores that they really just use for testing. And it might even be a complete separate Facebook business manager ad account. And then they can actually use that to test all sorts of products, and their feedback there doesn't really matter that much. Their brand doesn't really matter that much. And then once they start going and start validating products, and that, you can go either ways. You can actually just go start scaling right away, or maybe at first you might still want to scale a little bit longer. So that's when you want to talk about a VIP link with your AliExpress seller. And that's when you want to start working with an agent, either finding an agent or you work with one, start quoting the product that you want to work on. And then once everything is good, that's when you either build a one product store or a very tight niche store. And then that's when you work with an agent like us. And that's where we go from 10 orders per day to 50, 500 per day, and hopefully on your way to building a longer lasting brand. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you guys liked that. If you did, please like this video. Please subscribe. Now, in the next couple of weeks, I'm also going to launch a new video that's talking about private agents, how to select them, how to use them. So subscribe, turn on notifications if you want to look out for that. And I'm going to share some links as well of other videos that you should watch after this, supplier tricks, AliExpress US shipping. We do also have a EcommOps Facebook group as well. So please join it if you haven't. It's completely free. We have a lot of discussions on operations and logistics, and I share a lot more timely updates there. Finally, we are a premium private fulfillment agency. If you're looking at 50 orders or a day or close, check us out, EcommOps.com. We'll be happy to hear from you. If you had bad experiences, good experiences with AliExpress sellers, please put them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Ask any questions there or request anything that we should plan for future videos. All right, guys. Well, this is Dayu from EcommOps. Until next time, see you guys later.